Ole Miss's defense and what they did to shut those teams down last week.
Yeah, Bob, I think, first of all, Coach Davis, he's a great coach. They control tempo. They pride themselves on the defensive side of the floor. And anytime you score points offensively or defensively, or you limit somebody offensively or defensively, it's kind of both sides of the ball. So if you have low scoring games, defensively, it's probably semi-low scoring on offense too. So, they're gonna mix up their defenses. We know that they played some 1-3-1 late game against us last year, and we got some great looks out of it. We went back and watched that game, and they went with their 1-3-1 late in the game, and we got two really good looks from 3-point land. There seemed to be a little bit more aggressive in their 1-3-1 this year that also morphs back into a 2-3 zone. So I think just for us, same thing. It is most nights really, really take care of the basketball, understand what their themes are in the game. They have, two really, really good guards. Schuler can really score the ball, an experienced player. Joyner, a transfer from Bakersfield, can really shoot mid-range, pull up off the bounce, jump shots. And then Romello White inside's very, very good around the rim, a post-up player, an offensive rebounder. And then Buffin can beat people off the dribble and score around the rim.
I know last game, I think Moses said, I think maybe you did too, you guys put in some new cuts and some different things offensively, I guess, take advantage of Andy's defense. Is that something you can do against Ole Miss's defense or anybody's defense game to game, or at this stage of the season, is it hard to put in new stuff?
No, we added quite a bit of stuff, Bob, prior to the Vanderbilt game as far as moving without the ball, and felt like, maybe they focused on the ball a little bit, and maybe some backdoor cuts against any denials would work. And, certainly, we have a 1-3-1 attack that we used last year, but we did spend most of the morning with some alterations or some slight variations to that offense as well. So I think that, we know that they run that, anywhere from 2 to 15 to 17 times a game. And when the ball gets in certain spots of the floor, they fall back into a 2-3 or potentially a man. And they do that after some made baskets. So, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to go out and play, and make plays, not turn the ball over, and get high quality shots.
And, both teams have won 2 in a row in the SEC for the first time. So it seems like you're both playing pretty well. Kind of what's your take on how both teams are playing right now coming into this game?
Yeah, I think Ole Miss is confident. Like I said, they're really well coached, got experienced backcourt. Romello White's got a ton of experience playing it in the Pac-12 at Arizona State. He's a physical player inside. Buffin's a really good player. I mean, I like their team. I mean, they have really good pieces. They pride themselves on defense, and some of the little things like getting loose balls and long rebounds are going to be really important as well.
Okay, I got a couple more. I'll turn it back to Mike. Thanks.
Nate.
Damn it. Would Ole Miss be a team that maybe you'd press a little bit, or at least increase the half court pressure just to try and up the tempo?
Yeah, I mean, they'll run, Nate, a little bit more than maybe what, you're looking at their scores. I mean, Schuler is really effective in transition. We don't want to give up numbers to them. Certainly, pace of play is a factor for us. But we're not going to all of a sudden implement, a new press, but we do have, 2 different presses that we've used at times to either slow somebody down or to speed it up, Nate. So, I think the biggest thing is we don't want, Schuler and Joyner to get easy looks, by over extending our defense too much. But, certainly even against Auburn, some type of 3/4 court defense could potentially, come into play depending on how the flow of the game's going.
Do you look to kind of similar rotations as the last game against Ole Miss?
Yeah, I mean, I think the players dictate, I don't know who's going to get in foul trouble. I don't know who's not going to get in foul trouble on Monday at 2:08. I don't know who's going to make shots out of the gate. And so I think that there's so many things, Nate, that go into, what exactly your rotation is going to be, how guys are defending certain people comes into play. Sometimes guys will come out of the game because they aren't guarding their position. Some guys are late to weak side rotations. Some guys get winded. So I feel like we kind of know what our subbing flow will go, and then how extended it becomes depends on all of the above, I guess.
Thank you.
Curtis.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned the different looks from Ole Miss defensively, maybe particularly against the zone. Obviously, you have a couple of days to really focus in on what they do, but how do you feel like you've executed as a team against some of those similar looks that you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, really, up to this point, and again, every personnel is different, meaning, we haven't played Ole Miss, so, not sure how it'll play out. I mean, we do have a plan of attack, but it, doesn't matter what your plan is if it's not executed, or, you're going to have to meet the pass. You're going to have to know how to step through traps. You're going to have to know how to play with a window, meaning shoulder to shoulder, knee to knee, when you have the ball in your hands, and that's a window, and stepping through the trap and coming to meet the ball and throwing passes on ropes are all some of the little theme type terminology that we'll use for this game.
Hutch.
Yeah, Coach, you kind of touched on it there where you're talking about the rotations and everything that goes into it. And, it depends on matchups. But I know, Connor played 18 minutes the other night, hadn't played much before that. Jalen Williams went from playing all 20 minutes of the second half to only 9. Is this the kind of flexibility that you kind of envisioned when you put this roster together this offseason?
I think, for sure, Hutch, like when, Connor's just, I mean, he's different. He's 7'3". And so when you have a player that's so unique, because I mean, how often are we playing against someone over 7 foot in league play? Not often. So it is going to be dictated a little bit on matchups, and it's going to be dictated on, are we getting an advantage with Connor on the floor, whether it's offensively or defensively? And then with Jalen, I mean, he's one of our most physical defenders. And so when we play against physicality, we need him out on the floor. We didn't feel, against a Vandy team where they had their 4 and 5 out on the floor a lot, playing at the 3-point line, that maybe he had to be in there banging on that particular game. And we needed Connor to play extended minutes because he hadn't in a while. So it was really important for him to get back out on the flow of things as well.
Troy.
Yeah, Coach, we were talking with Moses Moody after the Vanderbilt game, and he said you guys as a team passed the ball around 218 times, obviously 22 assists in the game. But is that amount of passes what you're kind of looking for each game?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime we get over 200 passes, we feel good. We feel like the ball's got eyes, the ball's being shared. Anything under 200, we got to go back on the film and review why and where did the ball get sticky. But I thought for the most part, every single guy, and what happens sometimes is when you start sharing it and guys start making shots, the ball seems to find more hands. And sometimes when you're struggling, we'll have some guys that try to do too much alone. So anyway, yeah, I thought we did a great job passing the ball.
Scotty.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned on Saturday, I think in your interview with SEC Network after the game, that Jalen Tate is a little bit of an underrated scorer. I guess what qualities do you see in him as a scorer that can, make him effective and lead to games like he had Saturday?
Yeah, I think number one, when he gets in the teeth of the defense, he's got a good floater. He's got a good mid-range game, much like Jimmy Witt did. They kind of get him in different ways. Tate has the ability maybe to use the dribble a little bit more into his mid-range shots and start off in a pick and roll set and then kind of get his way into his mid-range game, but he's also a reliable three-point shooter as well. And I think that opens up some of the stuff for he and his teammates. And then just drawing the toughest defensive assignment every night makes him really valuable. And, he's a high deflection player from the defensive end. And he's a guy that is always trying to, how can I get my teammates involved as well?
I think you mentioned his perimeter shot. He hit 5 threes last week. That's probably his best, perimeter shooting week of the season. How important is that for this offense?
Yeah, I mean, I think when he's knocking down open shots, when people help on other players and he's knocking stuff down, I think it's really important. And we've seen it behind closed doors, just his ability to continue to get better, both from a confidence standpoint and then just from a repetition standpoint. In practice, he keeps getting better.
Yeah, Eric, obviously, a lot of teams are getting transfers these days. You're kind of out ahead of that parade, looks like. But, White and Joyner, for them are transfers. You've obviously got a lot of transfers who are contributing, a lot of starting. I think all the transfers have started at one point or another. Just what's your take on the transfer players in this game?
Yeah, I mean, White he was a really good player at Arizona State. A really good player. And talking to Pac-12 coaches, they thought his scoring around the rim, his offensive rebounding, his ability to block shots, he's a really, really, really good player with a lot of experience coming from another Power 5 conference. And then Joyner, could really score the ball at Bakersfield. I think he's improved. He's got a pull-up game where he can stop on a dime off the dribble and make shots. So I think both those guys, along with Schuler and Buffin, make them a really tough cover.
And then your transfers, how would you say they've done this season as a group, or if you want to break them down individual, however you want to answer that?
Yeah, I think they've done great. I mean, obviously, with Justin, it's been, a little bit of the injury setback, but he's one of the best offensive rebounders in the country. He's the offense flows when he's on the floor. Like when he's in our trail spot, he does a really good job of just understanding, because he's so smart, how to utilize the second side of the floor with the pass. He makes us much better defensively because we can just assign him to an upfront player. We don't have to worry about over helping when he's guarding a guy, just like with Tate. Tate, we assign him to a player. It's usually the best perimeter, not usually, it is the best perimeter player. And for the most part, he's held those guys under their averages every night without giving extra help. So, and then with Vance, I mean, he's a guy that stretches the floor out for us. He's made 2 really good passes, one in each of the last 2 games, kind of momentum passes, one with the lob last game. And he's a guy that, at 6'9", adds a different dimension to us, not just being a shooter, but he gives us more length on the floor as well.
And then, Connor and JD are transfers too. I know they've been kind of up and down, but.
Yeah, no, I think Connor's done a great job. I mean, I feel a little bit bad for him because he had such a great summer, and then he had the setback, losing weight, trying to get back healthy. But I think he's played really well. He needs, Connor needs to continue at his size to go down in the block and create an advantage at 7'3" with some back to the basket stuff. And that's up to him to come to the coaches and ask for post-practice, post work. We go to him a lot with it, and he needs to go down there and utilize his jump hook a little bit, and not just float on the perimeter at 7'3" for us, because he does have a great size advantage. He does have a excellent touch around the rim, and I think he lost a little of that when he lost his weight, because it was so significant this off season, right around September. And then JD, he's our one guy that can, he can get a shot at any time. It might not be a good shot, but he has the ability to get a shot off, late shot clock. He's got to continue to learn when he's at that point guard position to involve his teammates more. He needs to understand what a good shot is compared to a great shot. But part of the development that we thought was going to happen coming from Jacksonville and being such a high usage and high volume player, from a lower conference.
What was Romello White? Was he a guy you guys expressed interest in or checked out or whatever?
We did. It went nowhere.
He just wasn't in.
He wasn't interested.
Oh, sorry. Mike has to unmute me, but I think I'm okay. But thanks.
Troy, final question.
Yeah, Coach, I know this is a little kind of off topic, but tomorrow is the marks the 1 year where Kobe Bryant and his daughter passed away. I was curious, how that impacted your team last year and what Kobe as a player kind of meant to you.
Yeah, I mean, for our team, I think that, so many of our guys, if not the entire roster, he's a guy that they've looked up to. He's a guy that everybody knows about what his work ethic was and his belief in himself and how he used the off season to become one of the greatest players of all time. I think for many of us, we started to learn about him as a father and how close he was with his daughters. So I think I obviously coached against Kobe and tried to come up with game plans against him. And, he was gracious in signing a lot of stuff for me over the years. I know Matthew and Michael, my two sons, each have a pair of shoes that he signed, and he was nice enough to do that. And, I got a lot of stories from just coaching the Lakers G League team and being in the same building with them, whether it be in the weight room or after one of our G League games, coming out to the parking lot and there was no other car out there but my own and his. He rolled down the window and asked if anybody else was in the gym because he wanted to go get work in without anybody else being in there. So a lot of little stories, but I think for our guys, it was a shock as it was to everybody. But we used it as a time for guys to just get up in front of each other and talk about anything that they learned from him, or to also talk about grief, because some of our guys really were shook up. More so than maybe what, the general public would even know.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time.